Good morning, everyone. I'm going to hand out some handouts just so you all can have some of these to learn more about CEI. But good morning. I'm Courtney Peterson. I'm the Program Director for Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation here at UNC Charlotte. So CEI, we're a very unique center. We're interdisciplinary, so we support all majors, although we're housed under the Belk College of Business. So essentially what our goal is to help students, faculty, staff, and community partners uncover their ideas and discover innovation, which is our tagline. So we have a variety of entrepreneurial programs that support students to help advance themselves through any part of their journey through entrepreneurship. So whether you already have an existing business idea or you're learning something through programs like undergraduate research, and so we want to build and foster those opportunities that already exist on campus and collaborate to develop this entrepreneurial ecosystem across campus and beyond. So ultimately what our goal is to help you all build skills that are necessary to help you develop ideas, but also to think critically, work collaboratively, and develop deeper solutions that might make a real difference within campus and beyond. So again, we are interdisciplinary, so we don't just support students that are business majors. We actually have a number of other representation of majors across our programming. So just to learn a little bit more about who we are, so within CEI, like I mentioned, we're the university's anchor for entrepreneurship through co-curricular programs. So we have very different program offerings that help support students. And workshops like these are just one of the ways that we help prepare students approach different ways of their thinking and how they view problems and develop entrepreneurial mindset. So we are actually housed, what you see in the Portal building, which is across campus towards this CRI side of campus where engineering is located. We are located in the Portal building, which is the Partnership for Outreach to Research and Accelerate Learning. That space actually houses several startup and entrepreneur support organizations. It's a really cool, unique space because the university's research partnerships office is located there, which helps bring in companies and startups that are help furthering research across the Charlotte region and beyond. So if you ever have an opportunity, definitely come visit us, but also just take a look and walk around Portal. There are several different businesses that are housed there and companies that might spark your interest. In addition to Portal, we also have CoLab at UNC Charlotte Center City, which is new. CoLab actually was just built this past year. Well, it's been built, but we just opened this past year in 2025. So we're just a year old. CoLab is the university's academic anchor for the North Tryon Tech Hub. So for those of you who aren't familiar, North Tryon Tech Hub is the city and community's new initiative to build on technology, critical infrastructure, cybersecurity, and also academic learning, and develop an entrepreneurial ecosystem where corporate, community, and the institution come together to further those goals and initiatives. CoLab is also an event space, so there might be some speaker sessions that are happening there, workshops, conferences. It is a space where startups do have their own space and their own facility. So typically students don't have like a hot desk or have their own co-working space. But if there's ever a free event that's open to the public, we definitely recommend students come to just learn about what's happening in Charlotte and uptown. And as you can see, we have several different spaces like the ideation room, which is shown here, which is really more so like a whiteboarding room where people can come and bounce ideas off of each other. There's been corporate workshops that are housed there. Other partners across campus have workshops there as well. So it's a very unique space for students and the Charlotte community. So just a little bit about me. As I mentioned, I am the program director for campus engagement. So primarily what I do is I focus on bringing entrepreneurship outside of the classroom and just exposing students to this concept. In addition to that, I'm also a Charlotte grad. I did graduate 10 years ago, actually, with a BA in criminal justice and political science. So very different to what I'm doing now. but I also hold an MPA from Barry University, Master's in Public Administration, and I refer to myself as a social entrepreneur. So what that is I'm always looking for opportunities and ways to improve society through whether that's working and volunteering with nonprofits, through my work here on campus, but always looking for ways we can improve things in our community and better opportunities for people. And just some fun facts I just put in my favorite vacations. I won't be going to any of these places this summer, but I'll be wishfully thinking about it. So any questions about CEI or myself before I get on to just what entrepreneurship is and how it's applicable to you all? Okay, awesome. So what is entrepreneurship? Entrepreneurship has several different meanings, but for the most part, to sum it up, it's about seeing the need and acting on it. So you're finding a solution based on something that you've identified might potentially be a problem. So entrepreneurs, again, aren't just people who develop businesses. They're individuals who create nonprofits. They develop programs, systems, and tools that fill real gaps across our communities, even when that path is unclear. So there's a lot of uncertainty within entrepreneurship. And I put this here because entrepreneurship requires courage, like most things in life. So you're testing things, you're trying things, you're going to fail, you're going to succeed, many different opportunities for you to just develop some courageousness across your personal characteristics. So again, ultimately entrepreneurship is about finding ways to improve things and offer value to others. So I put this slide in here, getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, because as I mentioned, entrepreneurship, there is a lot of uncertainty. As you can imagine. So entrepreneurs actually thrive in discomfort because we understand that we're going to test a lot of things and solutions that might not actually work. So real innovation begins with uncertainty, and when you're willing to step into that uncertainty and learn by doing. So you're making an impact from being an entrepreneur, right? So you're embracing the unknown, but you're experimenting, adapting, and solving problems, creating solutions, and that discomfort turns into actual value for other people. So entrepreneurial thinking. This is one of the most important concepts that we in CEI go and we speak to students about. Because it's not just applicable in the space of creating a business or creating something different. It's a mindset that really is relevant to you as a student as you're developing yourself throughout your college career. So entrepreneurial thinking, it really combines creativity with feasibility. So you're thinking outside of the box and you're focusing on designing solutions that create real world impact. And something that's actually usable for your community. So it encourages you to think beyond your assignments and imagine real-world impact. So sometimes your professors will say, give us the real meaning of what all of this is. Show us how you're thinking beyond what I'm asking you to do. So entrepreneurial thinking and mindset allows you to recognize problems as opportunities and often think about things that some people aren't really focusing on, or that extra layer of some people are forgetting about. That's where you find that opportunity for a solution. So what is an entrepreneurial mindset? So going back to what I just mentioned, it's about being proactive. So again, you're finding things that people aren't actually thinking about. You're developing ideas to add value to what you're learning and building real-world application. I like to put this formula, curiosity plus entrepreneurial mindset. So going back to what I just mentioned, it's about being proactive. So again, you're finding things that people aren't actually thinking about. You're developing ideas to add value to what you're learning and building real-world application. I like to put this formula, curiosity plus innovation, plus empathy equals innovation. Because meaningful innovation actually happens when you combine a desire to understand the world, but also a desire to understand people. And so part of developing that entrepreneurial mindset is being curious and understanding why people think the way that they do, or why things are the way that they are. So this mindset, again, is not about starting a company. It's about how you think and changing that. So you want to be able to develop that as you're here as a student at UNC Charlotte, because you're proactively thinking about what am I learning and how can it be impactful once I graduate? Or what am I doing that could change the industry? You're being proactive in thinking about those things starting your first day at UNC Charlotte. So going into recognizing problems as opportunities. So what you're all here in undergraduate research, right? So entrepreneurial mindset actually leads to better research choices. So research begins with noticing challenges, gaps, meeting needs that are unmet. And so when you're applying that entrepreneurial mindset in research, you're helping yourself see things not as obstacles, but as opening a space to create value for others. So how this applies to you, that mindset might help you with choosing better research questions, or thinking about things that actually matter to your question, or assessing the impact to a specific solution and how it makes you think about things before you're actively building on them. There's this saying that sometimes entrepreneurs, they're on go, 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 and they're constantly thinking about what can I create, what can I create? But you want to think about the impact of what you're actually creating. How does it change industry? How does it make impact in something that I'm learning? How does it improve our society? Those are things that entrepreneurial mindset help you uncover. And then basically what I just said, translating results into real world value. So again, entrepreneurial mindset helps you lead to better research choices. And that's something that you can take and apply in any academic discipline. So in undergraduate research, I'm sure you learn, make a hypothesis, run an experiment, analyze results. But research isn't actually that linear. Many people imagine research as a straight line. When you're applying entrepreneurial thinking to that, you're actually thinking about what questions can I ask that lead to better solutions. So real research is actually shaped by concept, purpose, and people that it actually serves. So think about a particular problem that you're experiencing that you want to uncover a solution for. Mental health is something that I tend to do a lot of personal research on just because it's something I'm interested in. And so what can I learn, what can I uncover that helps me understand what's being developed and how is it actually serving people? So an entrepreneurial mindset ensures that your work is grounded in purpose, impact, and value. And so as you're developing and uncovering these tools in your classes, think about that purpose, impact, and value. What is the purpose of why we're asking these questions? Are we asking the most important questions that actually matter to a particular subject? Developing the impact. So are we assessing the impact of specific solutions within that idea or within that research problem? And then how are we developing value once we uncover the results from this study? Any questions so far about what I've gone over of entrepreneurial mindset or thinking and how it's applicable? So again, just something to take away, an entrepreneurial mindset, make sure that you're ensuring that your work is grounded in purpose, impact, and value. So moving on to some characteristics of entrepreneurial mindset. So one of the cool things that I like to share in the classroom is these are characteristics that aren't just applicable to entrepreneurs and developing that mindset. These are things that you can say when you're actually in an interview. So let's say that you are having an interview to work underneath one of your professors and to help with research assignments that they're doing. So you can talk about how you're a creative problem solver, how you have resilience and you don't give up easily. You can say that you are a risk taker. You're a good critical thinker. These are amazing characteristics that aren't just applicable to being in that mindset that we all should ultimately have. Because again, going back to that purpose, impact, and value, you want to be able to say that I have these characteristics to determine why this topic matters. I'm creative in understanding various different ways and pathways and uncovering questions and things that we should look into. Being a great problem solver, public speaking, and effective communication. These are great characteristics that also help you understand how you can benefit from things that you're studying. So I'm able to explain that through being able to be a problem solver. I'm able to see how our community benefits from the results that we're uncovering and how this will help others. So what are my findings contributing to? A good problem solver and a good critical thinker is able to explain that. So those are some great characteristics that, as I mentioned, aren't just applicable to entrepreneurs, but should be to you as students, and great things to share in interviews. Any questions about that? So again, these aren't just business skills, they're life skills that you should take on with you. So moving on to problem identification. So this is actually really important to entrepreneurial mindset and seeing opportunities through an entrepreneurial lens. So this is really relevant to what you're doing in undergraduate research because you are recognizing real needs and challenges and inefficiencies that are going within a specific industry. And you want to clearly define those problems before jumping into solutions. So when I talked about research isn't linear, I talked about how you don't just make a hypothesis, analyze the results, and develop your findings. You want to actually really uncover what the problem is. Why does this problem matter? Who is it impacting? And how can we help address this problem? So it's the entrepreneurial skill of observing others, observing behavior, asking the right questions to uncover the root of the issue. So this is really important for when it comes to when you're doing specific tasks and assignments that are relevant to asking the questions of why does any of this matter? What are these questions leading to and what are we trying to solve? So when you're uncovering the root of the problems of why does any of this matter? What are these questions leading to and what are we trying to solve? So when you're uncovering the root of the problem, you're addressing things through an entrepreneurial lens. A strong solution begins with a clear, validated problem. So again, uncovering the real issue. So there are several different problems that exist, but how can we narrow those down into the main idea here? So looking through things from an entrepreneurial lens, you're also defining who struggles and why they struggle with what they're struggling with, and why is it important. These are important things for identifying problems. So you have that idea, which is that initial spark within whatever you're learning. And then that opportunity, what you're doing is you're validating that through impact. So students can explain themselves through why they're asking questions or why this research problem is important by having that initial spark and seeing that validated path to impact. Any questions about that? So a real life example that I like to share, actually I think my slides might be out of order. Let's go back. There we go. Okay, so a real world example that I like to share is a mental health chatbot that actually has been talked about really recently in the past couple of years. So this was an idea that a company decided to do a lot of research on and explore if this is something they should implement across college campuses. So this industry example, they identified this problem, which was many college students struggle with stress, anxiety, or loneliness, but don't seek help due to the cost. So that was their problem, the cost barrier. So how can we ensure that we are making mental health support systems accessible to students without the barrier of cost? So they identified this problem as these are the issues that contribute to this problem. So we have our happy, sad, indifferent person here at the bottom of the screen. So with this problem, they came up with a solution to build this mental health chatbot. It offered support like guiding and journaling, mindfulness prompts to help connect students to local resources if needed. And all of this was available at free cost. So this app, what it offered was 24/7 support to students at no cost. Many institutions already have free to no cost counseling services, but most of them are limited to a specific number of a semester or academic year. So allowing them to develop this support system at no cost to students would give them 24/7 support to mental health care. And what they did was they launched this idea on one campus as a pilot to see, is this testable? Is this something we should look into implementing across different colleges? So utilizing an entrepreneurial lens in research, what they did was they started through user interviews. They started asking people within the college campuses, what problems are you seeking and how can this mental health bot impact that? Or what are some things that contribute to not seeking mental health support? Through those user interviews, they were able to gather information that allowed them to uncover that the cost was a barrier, which was our problem there. So they prototyped this app to see how many iterations of this is going to make it work, to make the students utilize it. They tested it in small groups and quickly iterated it based on feedback from students that were using the app. So this problem solution impact is a great way of how you can develop something by utilizing problem identification. And again, that initial spark, which is how can we improve mental health across college campuses? They've used that to develop, and number one thing that he got from his user interviews was people just want to know if there's spots available. Where can I find a slot? So he utilized that entrepreneurial lens by first starting with asking questions, but not just asking questions, asking the right questions that actually matter. And then again, ask people through interviewing them, surveying them, gathering data that allowed him to, okay, this is what the people want, so now let me create something that can be efficient for being implemented. So really cool examples about how you can utilize research and information gathered through data to develop a business idea. So really cool example of that. And again, as you're in your classrooms, you might have these ideas, and that's where CEI comes in. We can talk to you about what programs can help support furthering those ideas. So moving on to market research and why it's important. So through entrepreneurship, market research is one of the most important ways of actually understanding what it is your customers or potential customers need. So you want to study what already exists. So for example, Airbnb was developed because people didn't have an accessible way of finding hoteling space when they attended conferences. So they studied the hotel and lodging industry to understand what was already out there in that space, what services and solutions were already available for people who wanted to have a secondary space when they're visiting and they're traveling. So moving on, you want to identify strengths, weaknesses, and gaps. So going back to Airbnb, one of the weaknesses that the hoteling industry had was that it wasn't affordable. It wasn't available for people who just needed a quick place to stay. So Airbnb developed this website, which in the past is called Bed and Breakfast, if you didn't know. And they developed this idea where people could put their spare apartment rooms on an app. People could pay $25 a night to be able to stay and enjoy the vacation or enjoy a conference that they had to attend. So one of the biggest areas and gaps was that nothing like this had ever existed. So they found an unmet need within the hotel and lodging industry. They uncovered the inefficiencies of the hoteling industry. And then they heard and interviewed and surveyed frustrations from people who just wanted to have a quick spare bedroom to stay at when they were on vacation or at a conference. So when doing market research, your goal is to innovate but not duplicate. So you don't want to create something that's already out there. You want to come up with an idea based on a real problem that someone isn't already thinking about. So again, you're recognizing opportunities from problems. So you can use research to find those opportunities where you can add value to a specific industry. So one of the ways that Airbnb got their idea started was by asking people, what would you like to see on this app? How would this benefit people from across the board? They quickly iterated by allowing not just spare apartments, but entire villas, entire homes. Now they've added experiences to it. So they're identifying unmet needs that people want to see when they're traveling. And they've developed that by allowing themselves to create value for the hotel and lodging industry. And arguably, one of the biggest disruptors in the hotel and lodging industry to date. So when you are coming up with these ideas, market research is really important to finding those opportunities that people aren't thinking about. And then again, you're letting the data guide your direction. So you're not guessing what people need. You're actually taking the information from surveys, from competitors, from users and trends to help you identify and determine what the real problem is and if it's worth solving. So you're really taking the information that you're gathering and analyzing it and putting it in a set that you can understand. Here's what people actually feel about this particular problem. Here's what the unmet need is. You don't want to just guess when it comes to identifying what someone needs. You want to actually get real feedback. And so you want to make sure that data guides the solution that you're developing. So again, don't just make assumptions as to why things should be solved or how things should be solved. You want to let the information you're gathering take you there. And so I have a little brief challenge for you all. If you just have like a piece of paper or your phone, you can write down an idea or something that you can do just quickly. It's just a challenge that helps you uncover how you can take an idea from an opportunity. So think to yourselves briefly for 30 seconds a common campus experience that you face. So whether that's parking, dining hall lines, think of a problem that you can think about that you've experienced across campus. And I'll give you a minute to do that. Okay, so now you've identified that problem. Ask yourself what's frustrating about it. How is it affecting you? Why does this happen? And why does it matter? So take a moment to think about that. So you've identified your problem. You've asked yourself, what's the real problem? Why is it impacting me? Now you want to reframe that problem as an opportunity. So you can ask yourself, the problem is actually an opportunity to improve X for Y. So now that you've reframed your problem as an opportunity, now you can brainstorm one idea that can create value for that. So you can think of an idea that could potentially help. So maybe that's a tool, a process, or a communication fix, or maybe that's an app or a system. think about those ideas that could create value for changing your problem or alleviating your challenges from your problem. Now, does anyone want to share what they've developed or what idea they might have?
I had an idea of like finding gas stations with like more like affordable prices. It can sometimes be a little bit difficult. I mean, like there's on Google Apps, sometimes you can see what the prices are, but it's not consolidated, and so it's really difficult just to try to navigate. And sometimes you might like end up wasting gas trying to find like a gas station that's like affordable. So my idea was like if somebody could like develop an app that pulled the live data from different gas stations. That way it was all consolidated and you can compare prices, and then that would also encourage I think gas stations to maybe have more competitive prices.
That's a good idea. So I think there's something called Gas Buddy, but I don't believe it's like an app that actually gives you all of it consolidated. I think it's based on specific locations. So like I think Shell and like Marathon, but for me, I don't know, I take 7-Eleven gas. I think that's Exxon. So like that wouldn't necessarily benefit me, but also rewards. You could potentially implement reward systems with that. So great example.
Me? The year can be packed sometimes, and many people like especially during the school year, you can see like maybe 6-7 people waiting for a squat rack for the UREC, and it could be a little annoying and frustrating because people have to get to class.
So you all are already doing it. So you're doing an amazing job. Most of what a lot of students should do by getting in opportunities such as undergraduate research. That allows you to ask more why and what if questions. So why are we reviewing these social systems? How are they impacting our campus community? Talk to users or communities before finding solutions. So again, don't make assumptions about what people need or what should be developed. Actually talk to people that are utilizing systems or utilizing these tools and might need more innovations. So again, you're already doing it, taking initiative in research projects and capstones. We actually had students from our 49er Foundry, which is our program I'll get into later, and their business idea derived from a research project that they did in their classroom. And so now they actually placed in our competition and won $4,000 for just building on that idea that they uncovered through their class. So those projects and capstones are really important, valuable things that you can learn, but also that you can think about how they're scalable. Join hackathons, incubators, and innovation labs, not just through CEI, but across your academic colleges. There are immersive challenges that they might host, that they might implement for students to just join a way to problem solve. These are great opportunities, not just for public speaking and uncovering ideas, but also understanding how things work in real world practice. And then learn how your idea can become impactful and scalable, which I talked about. No idea is wrong, but you always want to be able to think about it and how it impacts a real user. So again, you don't want to make assumptions about what should be implemented. You want to learn about how it can be impactful for a real person. And why does any of this matter? So successful careers in any industry, it's important to be a good problem solver. So you don't want to just memorize facts or memorize systems and things. You want to uncover, why are these things existing? Why does this matter? So workshops like these that we do help you think about thinking like an innovator, designer, or creator. You'll use skills like this in entrepreneurial mindset in your coursework, internships, and future careers. The entrepreneurial mindset helps you approach challenges with confidence and clarity. So I talked about how there's a lot of uncertainty within entrepreneurship, that level of courage and confidence allows you to approach challenges very differently from the average person. Any questions? So just moving on to CEI, I talked about us a little bit, but we really want to engage with students across campus. That's literally my job. So we have several different opportunities for students to do that. So we have 49 Foundry, which I mentioned is our 2-semester incubator program. That takes you through 2 semesters of workshops, which is basically like 4 workshops in the fall, 4 workshops in the spring. That program allows you to take an idea and really grow it into an actual business. So our goal through that is students are taking what they've learned from the classroom through a project, or they've already developed this idea and now they're wanting to turn this into a business. So we bring in subject matter experts to talk to students about customer discovery, excuse me. We bring in professionals to talk about business modeling and developing a business model canvas or business plan. And then you also have a business shower where we celebrate students' ideas at the end of the first semester. And then second semester, we bring in business attorneys to talk to students about what type of business you should form and why this is important for your idea. And then at the end of the semester, we have a grand competition that culminates the program. So I talked about those students who were in their engineering class and they developed an HVAC monitoring system for apartments, but they honestly could talk to someone in Honeywell about implementing this at a larger scale. So just opportunities like that are great for students who are maybe beyond the stage of an idea and who actually want to develop something real. Part of the program, we do have that students register their businesses, whether that's in the state of North Carolina, which we prefer. So it's a great program for students. We also have the Truest Immersive Learning, which is a corporate innovation challenge. So that program, we've had 5 iterations of it within the past 4 years. So it's a great opportunity for students who, I don't know if I'm interested in entrepreneurship, but I want to apply entrepreneurial thinking in corporate space. So it's literally what it is. It's a corporate innovation challenge that gives you an opportunity to learn about real challenges across different sectors. So we've had Discovery Place, Duke Energy, Truist, the namesake. We've also had Novant Health. Different companies come in and talk about, here are some problems we have, and here's what technology and what systems we want to do to improve it. So the students last year developed an app for Discovery Place to improve people coming to Discovery Place and making it more user-friendly and exciting for people to come to Discovery Place. Another invention, students developed an idea for helping people use AR and VR when they're at the Truist Championship, which is a golf tournament. So real cool thing where we put students on teams based on their interests. So the topic might be entrepreneurship for public good, or it might be entrepreneurship for mental health. And based on the students' applications and what they're interested in, we pair them on teams to say, hey, you guys have similar ideas, now come up with a business idea. So it's more so like a business plan challenge. It's really fun. We typically have that in the spring, and we just had it for this past semester. Discovering Your Edge workshops and speaker series. That is our monthly speaker series where we will bring in guest speakers for the university. So we've had an alum who has a beauty tech company where she is basically developing DoorDash but for beauty products. So she has partnerships with Ulta and I think another beauty company to have products delivered directly to your front door. And so she's developing something really cool and something real that people actually would use. I know I would use it. So that's just one of the speaker series that we have. Where if we're not having ourselves do workshops like these, we'll bring in someone to talk about entrepreneurship and how you can discover your edge. In the future, we're also going to be partnering with an organization founded by an alum called WAP, where we develop you can create your own business website through an innovation challenge. And then we also have an entrepreneurial thinking credential, so participating in programs and also developing reflection. So it's not just a participatory credential, you do have to provide some reflection in conjunction with it, but it allows you to get a credential for being involved in our programs. We do have an annual engagement with the Alumni Association, and then, as I mentioned, collab at UNC Charlotte Center City. So that's how we involve with the community. And then, of course, faculty, we support them through opportunities like this, mentoring and judging opportunities. So a great way for you all to get involved with CEI and just stay connected with us. And you can do that by always connecting with our LinkedIn. We typically post thought leadership, repost things that we're doing. We just took students to Austin, Texas for part of their program, and that was fun, so you might see some highlights in the future from that. Niner Engage is typically where we post all of our programs. So if you are looking for an application to join 49er Foundry, or if you're looking for an application to join the Truth program, or if you just want to read about what we're doing, that information can be found on Niner Engage. Almost always, if we have an application that goes out, we typically do post them on Niner Engage. In Instagram, that's really led by our student ambassadors, but they will also post events that are coming up and important things to stay mindful of. Any other questions about me or CEI? Yeah.
Does it cost any money to join the program?
No, so all of our programs are free. They are supplemental, so they're co-curricular programs outside of the classroom. So we don't actually have a entrepreneurship major just yet. So most of what our programming is to supplement things that you might be doing outside of the classroom. Great question. Any other questions? Yeah, okay, awesome. Well, stay connected with us, and I'll peel back a little while if you do have any questions, but thank you all so much for allowing me to come and present to you all today. I hope that you were able to take in some really grateful things about entrepreneurial thinking and how it's definitely connected to what you're doing in undergraduate research.